Okay, so we're going to look at reference angles today, and then in the next part we'll learn how to use them to find trig ratios for general angles. So reference angle is the acute angle formed by the terminal side of an angle and the closest side of the x-axis. I promise that's the only definition we're doing today, except I wrote of the instead of the, so hang on, I just made a compound word that doesn't exist. Of the x-axis. Okay, and so we'll draw some little pictures to explain this, and then I'll give you guys a little formula that'll make it easier, and this won't take very long. So it's the acute angle formed by the terminal side of an angle. This is graphed in standard position, and the closest side of the x-axis. So the idea is if we learn things for reference angles, then we don't have to memorize the whole thing and have a whole unit circle or have a whole bunch of things to remember. So it says find the reference angle for 150 degrees. So we're just going to draw like a really quick sketch. We're not going to use a protractor or anything. Here's our x and y axis. 150 degrees from here to, let me draw it. I'll use my red pen so you can see. So here's our initial side. My terminal side is going to be over here somewhere because this is 90. So from here to here is 150. The reference angle is this little angle right here that it makes, the terminal side makes it the closest x-axis. So this little angle in here. So there's a couple of ways that we could figure that. You could figure out, okay, from here to here is 180, and you could subtract 150 to see what's left. That's usually how people do that. They just take 180 minus 150, and so the answer is just 30 degrees. Actually, let's just do that. That works. All right, and then if we want to find the reference angle for 225 degrees, it helps to do a quick sketch. So we're over here, starting over here. It's 180 if you go to here. This is 270 down here, so 225 is somewhere in here. You could actually take the time to measure it. We know how to do that, but we're just kind of estimating. This is 225 degrees. The reference angle goes back this way on this one. It's this little piece right here, which isn't showing up very well when I highlight it, between the terminal side and the x-axis over here. So it's actually part of that 225. So we're essentially figuring out how much further than 180 degrees you go to get to 225. So you can figure that out by taking 225 minus 180, and you get 45 degrees. And then if we do the reference angle for 330 degrees, that's going to be almost all the way around. So we start here. Here's my initial side. My terminal side's going to land over here. So we'll say that this is 330, even though I didn't measure it. And then this reference angle will be this little acute angle between the terminal side and the closest x-axis. So what do you guys think of, how would we figure out that one?
360 minus 330.
Good. 360 minus 330, and you end up with 30 degrees. And that's the main idea that I'm going to stick with for today, is how to find the reference angle. We're going to put a little bit of information on this graph and then call it good for part one. So what we're going to do over here is talk about just a shortcut for finding reference angles where you don't have to draw the picture every time. You can draw the picture, but if you're trying to save time, there are other ways. So I'm going to label this quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you're in quadrant 1, your angle is already acute. So the reference angle is just going to equal theta that they give you. Okay? So there is absolutely no work involved on that one. You're not subtracting. If they give you 45 degrees or 30 degrees or 60 degrees or whatever, you just leave it because it's already acute. If you're ever here in quadrant 2, like we had on number 1, the reference angle is 180 minus the angle they're giving you, which we're going to call theta. Down here in quadrant 3, that's like number 2 that we did. The reference angle is going to be the angle minus 180. I should put degrees on that. And then if you're in quadrant 4, that's like the third example that we did. You can just take 360 minus theta. So this just sort of summarizes how you could do this. You could still draw a picture, but that's what we're going to look at for today, just how to do reference angles.